waving back at me.
The Open Door building is actually very representative of what we are, because anybody, father, mother, grandmother, can arrive at our doorsteps and then will generally be able to see somebody and talk about what it is they're concerned about. And often people will just leave here and just say, thanks so much for listening to me.
There was an increase in squatting activities in 1986 because that's when the pass laws were abolished. When the pass laws were abolished, people came with their families. There was no housing provided for black people in this area. They identified a piece of land where those numbers of people could be accommodated. And that is where Masiphumelele is now. And that's why a lot of people refer to Site 5.
There was a lot of abuse when we were growing up. Then I decided one day I have to help other children, the same circumstances with me. There's a lot of abuse in Masi due to alcohol. So we are there to protect the children.
We lived in York Terrace, Cardiff Road, York Terrace, and the mountain was right there with the waterfall gushing. We played there as children, but it was taken away from us.
I was born in Noordhoek and we were forced removed to Ocean View.
They had to live with this whole thing of going, to another place that was totally different from their place that they were removed from. And I suppose the origin comes from the fact that they already felt disempowered. And with that feeling of no confidence, that's one thing I found. Even the kids had absolute no confidence. When they speak to you, they speak down.
There is no respect today. It's not anymore your child is my child. There's nothing here in Ocean View that encourages our children to do something different.
BDP, also known as the Open Door in Ocean View, is a registered and designated child protection organisation. That means we operate within very specific levels. There are two programs, the social work program and the ECD program. So our referrals will come from the community, from the schools, from the clinics, from the hospitals, the maternity hospitals, from the courts, from many different areas, because it's where people regard a child as in need of care because of something that they heard, that they saw, and then they will come and tell the social worker here, and then it's our responsibility to investigate.
Because we do have a lot of neglect and abuse within our communities. However, some of the children, we miss out on them. So there would be substance abuse in the home, and that would end up in like domestic violence happening in the home, and then sexual abuse, and then all these other kind of things, gangsterism. So a lot of them are just traumatized through all of this.
We've got Masakane, that is under VDP. They do have some volunteers who go into people's houses, because some people can't afford to pay for crèche, so they go and teach them.
Green Curtains Preschool, situated here in Ocean View, and it has been operating for many, many years. It was started by a group of mothers, giving single mothers in this community an opportunity to go and work. We've got teachers who have in the meanwhile from the community who have qualified and work as educators, caring for children, keeping them safe and providing learning opportunities.
It's important for children to have community. If when they come to crèche, there's a community at crèche. They have it here, they sense it. Some of them don't want to go home.
It is here where I found the less privileged kids coming and asking for food, and they were hungry. Some of them came running because they were punished with both hands being put onto the stove. Where it all went wrong in Ocean View is this whole thing with taking your burden to the alcohol.
Because social services, social workers will step into many areas where nobody else steps in, the profession is, to a certain extent, a bridge for people, to connect people to other resources and to other areas.
In Masiphumelele, there's lots of alcohol abuse, which leads to child neglect, and also, domestic violence. We monitor the situation, and if we see that the children are at risk, we have to remove the children. And then we go to court. And after court, we put the child in a temporary safe care, and so that we can complete our investigations, maybe for 3 months. And when you see that there's no family member, then the children are put in children's home. But first, it will be family first before children's homes.
Because we are working with children, we are then obviously working with the families. So that would include domestic violence, whatever else is happening in the environment, drug abuse, unemployment to a certain extent, removing women to shelters with their children. But our focus here is always in the best interest of the child. That's our mandate. Particularly if it's going to become a case through the courts, we would want to remove the perpetrator, not the child. Why should the child go through the trauma of abuse and be removed out of their home?
We feed over 300 children. Then the social workers will come here and they will put their children on our feeding scheme. Now in lockdown especially, with parents that is out of work, and most of our parents is from Cape Vineyards, to the parents and to their child. This is the only feeding they're getting. Our aftercare is from 6 years old. The child must be on school to interact with whatever program.
We're currently in the COVID crisis. There's a huge lack of food in many families, because people are not able to work or to earn any money. So that impacts more. So a lot of our focus over the last couple of months has been around feeding children, as well as vouchers in both communities, and actually then looking for those families that don't get the grant, won't get UIF, can't apply for the COVID because they don't have any papers.
We've got people from Zimbabwe, Malawi, Mozambique, Nigeria, and the Eastern Cape. We are all struggling now because of COVID-19, and during lockdown, a lot of people lost employment, and the government, there were donors, the government bringing groceries, food parcels for the people, but if they are in the queue and a foreigner get a parcel, they'll snatch it from you. Said, no, you don't qualify, you're not from this country. But those things were meant for everyone in the community.
I joined VDP when I was like 7 years old. Where I actually progressed myself is when we went on camps. I've learned things out of that, and that made me the person that I am today.
Whenever I felt that I needed to talk about something, needed help even with assignments, printing, sharing how you feel, support, motivation, encouragement, that's how I found strength through the open doors.
Early intervention and prevention can be linked but separated. So if we know there's a group of children at a school who are starting to use drugs and the school calls that in, we'll bring in a group, we'll counsel the children, we'll work with them, we'll look at alternatives to drug taking. We're not going to court. We are just working with families or children how we can prevent a process.
So won't it be great to prevent that and to maybe hear from their stories and tell yourself, yeah, I must watch it. So if a 32-year-old come to you and the two of you have a good relationship, but when he starts giving you and he starts touching you when you lick a garuk and so on, then you can learn from Sally's story, there is danger coming.
Because you don't go talk to your friends, because I think if you go talk to your friends, they will do nothing about it. Now the shooting and stuff here, violence, it's not safe for us actually, because when they shoot innocent people.
I've got my colleague who is also running the groups for the young mothers. They come to the office with their children, then she teaches them to do things on their own, like even knitting, making toys for their children, homemade toys, parenting skills.
What many people are just looking is actually somebody who believes in them, somebody who thinks they can be different, some kind of emotional, some place where you can actually come and talk to somebody, and that's what we're providing. A child belongs with their family, a child belongs with their mother, a child belongs with their father. A child will love their mother and father, whether they're a drug addict, even if they beat them, they still love their parent, and that's always their first place and their best place to be.
I see BDP changing the community where they are able to be sort of empowered, that they are able to take responsibility of their own lives.
Everything is stemming from substance abuse and gangsterism, because obviously in most of the homes, there's at least 1 or 2 family members that are abusing drugs or alcohol. I think if we can tackle substance abuse, then we would be able to get to the root of the problem.